All right, math application students, we're going to do our next lesson on math sequence geometric terms. So in our previous notes, we learned to find the nth term, we use a times r to the power of 1 less than the number that we're working with. So for example, we started with our first term. To find the next one, we multiply it times r to get the next one, times r to get the next one, times r to get to the next one, and we've noticed that the power here is always 1 less than the term number. Now, we're going to start doing something a little more tricky. What happens if I give you the third term and the fifth term? Well, the third term is ar squared, right? And the fifth term is a times r to the fourth. So how am I going to find r? Well, let's think of it this way. What would happen if I had the fifth term divided by the third term? Well, that would be equal to what? The fifth term is a times r to the fourth power. The third term is a times r squared. Well, if I did this, does the a cancel out? Yeah, it does. Now, you know that the fifth term is what? 567, right? The third term is 63. Okay, so let's write this out like this. So we've got 560, oh, that's not a good pen. We've got 567 divided by 63. Okay, well, I can use my calculator for that. 567 divided by 63, and I get 9. Okay. Alright, so let's think about what this really means. So I've got r to the fourth power divided by r squared, and that's equal to 9. Now let's think about this. Well, what is r to the fourth divided by r squared? Well, think about it this way. R to the fourth is r times r times r times r, right? R squared is r times r, right? Well, if I cancel out those r's and those r's, we're left with r squared, right? So r to the fourth divided by r squared is going to give me r squared, right? Now, if r squared is equal to 9, what do you think r is going to be? Square root both sides, and r is equal to 3. All right, so now we found r. So now that I know r, what do you think a is going to be? Well, once again, let's take our equation. We know that the third term, 63 is equal to a times r squared. I'm going to write that down. The third term is equal to a times r squared, right? And we know the third term is 63. And we've got a, and we know that r is 3, so we've got 3 squared, right? Okay, well, 3 squared is what? 9, right? So we've really got a times 9 is equal to 63. So we can divide both sides by 9. And then we're left with a, right? And then a is equal to 63 divided by 9 is 7, right? So now I know that a equals 7. Okay, part C. Find an expression for t sub n. Well, you know that t sub n is equal to a times r to the n minus 1. So an expression for this is t sub n equals 7 times r, 3 to the power of n minus 1. This is the expression for the nth term. All right, let's do a couple more examples. Okay, t to the 7th is this, t to the 8th is this. Now, one of the things we learned a few examples back is that if I have t2 over t1, we get 2. The third term divided by the second term, we get the r value. The fourth term divided by the third term, we get the r value. So what if I've got the 8th term divided by the 7th term? Guess what? We're going to get our r value. So the 8th term divided by the 7th term is going to give me r. So if I've got, knowing this, 128 over 243 divided by 64 over 81. And some of you are thinking, oh my gosh, how do I do that? Well, I could rewrite this as a multiplication of the reciprocal of this, right? So that would be equal to 128 over 243 times the reciprocal of this, so 81 over 64. Now, in order to do this, I would break this down. You know that this is, or actually, let's just do 128 times 81. Let's make it easy. Okay, and 243 times 64. Okay, and then, so the numerator divided by the denominator. .66 repeating, and you know what that is. That's going to be, that's 2/3, right? So we know that r is equal to 2/3. Okay, let's do one more example. Okay, the fourth term is negative 192. The seventh term is this. So let's remember what we said earlier. T sub n equals a times r to the power of n minus 1, right? So this is really equal to a times r to the third power, and this is really equal to a times r to the sixth power, right? So if I set up my ratio, that a to the r to the power of 6 divided by a times r to the third power, we should make that equal to a to the power of 6 is equal to that value. A times r to the power of 6 is equal to 12288, and a to the power of 3 is equal to negative 192. So how does this simplify? Okay, well, you know the a's cancel out, right? R to the 6 divided by r cubed is going to give me r cubed. And this divided by that, well, let's use our calculator. 12288 divided by 192, and that gives me 64. And so then I think to myself, okay, what is the cube root of 64? And one thing you could do is you could say, okay, well, to get this, I can do the 1/3 power of both sides. And if I do the 1/3 power of both sides, we're going to end up with r. So by doing that, so we do 64 to the 1/3 power. Now notice that I'm doing 64 to the 1/3 power. I have to put the 1/3 in parentheses, otherwise it's going to make a sign error, an order of operation error. And that's going to give me 4. Now let's see if that makes sense. Is 4 cubed 64? 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. Okay, so now we know what r is. All right, now we want to find a. Well, let's use one of these equations. Let's use a smaller one. I think that's easier. Okay, so we know that a times r cubed is equal to negative 192, right? And we know that r is 4, right? So a times 4 cubed equals negative 192. Well, 4 cubed is 64, right? So a times 64 equals negative 192. And what do we get? Oh, I made a mistake here. Positive divided by a negative is going to give me a negative answer, isn't it? Negative 64. So this is going to be negative 4. So negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4 is going to give me negative 64. R is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4 is going to give me negative 64. So a times negative 64 gives me negative 192. 192 divided by 64. It's going to give me 3. So our a value is 3. Okay. So if we know a and we know r is negative 4, we can now write our expression because we know that t to the n equals a times r to the n minus 1. So now we know a is 3, r is negative 4. Our expression is t to the n equals 3 times negative 4 to the power of n minus 1. And that is our expression. Now let's see if this really works. 3 times 4 to the cubed power should give us negative 182. And let's see. T to the 7 should be 3 times negative 4 to the 6th power, right? let's see if that works. Three times -4 to the power of 6. And, oh, I made an order of operation error because this is not correct. So notice if I put the -4 in parentheses, we're going to get a different answer. 3 times parentheses -4 close parentheses caret 6 power, and watch what happens. Okay, so if you don't put your -4 in parentheses, you won't get the correct answer because it's -4 to the 6 power. Anything to an even power is going to be positive. Okay, so this is an important order of operation thing to think about. And we got the answer that we needed at the top. If you have trouble with this, you may want to watch this video again. Good luck with your homework.